All right, well, we've had a little bit of happy chatty before starting. I would like to welcome everybody tonight, and I'd like to begin this session of our citizen science for native forest protection inside our plantation areas with an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to particularly pay respect to the Gumbaynggirr people on whose land I am. And I would like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. It always was and it always will be Aboriginal land. So tonight I thought we'd have a bit of a training session. So if anybody is muggins enough to actually come back to this Zoom and watch it later, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. We're going to be doing some various stuff. I thought I might start with an update on where things are at, just so people can see how much forest we're saving or hoping to save, and actually saving and actually losing. But I also thought that we would follow up with some of the wonderful folks who've done last week's homework in terms of familiarizing themselves with how to import image files, generate polygons, and export KMZ files to import them into their own navigation devices for when they go out into the field. And I also thought that we could have a bit of an agony aunt/uncle non-gender specific avuncular process of mentoring one with another to find out how we're going and what we're doing. So let me start with a slow burner called Richmond Range. So as per usual, we start with our blank canvas. And because I'm feeling lazy tonight, I'll just tap in Richmond Range in the search function in Google Earth Pro. Richmond Range State Forest, Northwest. I think this is it. Let's have a look. Here we go. So there are basically about 8 or 9 areas where, you know, obviously I've been doing quite a lot of the work around mapping and verifying and ground truthing and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it has been with the support of citizen scientists on the ground, and also citizen scientists remotely who've completed the first course in this ongoing effort to protect our native forests. Most of which in that first semester, if you'd like to call it, is covered in Sue Gold's wonderful introductory manual, which is in the citizen science folder and will be the basis for a more formal manual as we go along. Because we've been successful in securing a small grant at Griffith University to undertake a pilot of the initiative that we're doing together. But I wanted to show you what's been going on in one particular area where we got there before forestry started logging, which is always the best way to do this stuff, and why we need citizen scientists to join us and for you to encourage citizen scientists to join, because the forests are many and sadly, the conservationists are few, and the loggers are multiplying. So if we can get to an area while it's still proposed or in planning, we can do our historical aerial view analysis. We can identify native forest, and we can shoot off those emails to the Forestry Corporation of New South Wales, or wherever it is that we are working, to just advise about the presence of remnant native forest inside our plantation areas. And Richmond Range is just one of those areas. It's pretty far north, quite close to the Border Ranges National Park. So we've got the Richmond Range State Forest, and we have the Richmond Range National Park. So if we turn on our IFOA layer, which is for the state forest, the compartment boundaries. If we turn on the dedicated state forest actual boundaries that surround those compartments, and if we turn on the national parks estate, in this case, I've just highlighted it in orange rather than having it in full orange. And we're going to go into this area here. Oh, and I can already see that I've got a little polygon that I haven't turned off from way back when. And I'll turn on the hardwood plantation resource unit. And I will now turn off the state forest boundary. I will also now turn off the compartments. We can see there are 3 compartments. And just to see how extensive the plantable area is, which we also have as a set of shapefiles, I'll just put it back to the color it normally is in by clicking on Shift Control if you're a Mac user, Style and Color. Red. Just to give us an indication so we know what we're looking at. I'm going to turn it off again. And just for the hell of it, turn on again the IFOA layer. And now, oh, I wonder where that came from. Excuse me while I just chat away to myself. Ah, that's an untitled polygon that I had as a legacy issue inside the CIFOA data set. So you have to be careful when you create polygons, and if you don't have your cursor clicked in on the right area that you're working on, Google Earth will save it into whatever you clicked on last. And this is an example of one of those legacy issue polygons that I've left in the CIFOA layer. So I'm going to turn it off. It's highlighted now, so I'm going to go Command X. It's gone. But what I'm also going to do, once I've shut down the multiple millions of files in this particular data set, I'm going to turn everything off in New South Wales because we want to focus in on Richmond Range. Going to go to Richmond Range, and here it is again. I'll just stop that. We can see that Richmond Range is both a northern and a southern state forest area, but it's this area that we're working on at the moment, and it's this area that I'm most concerned about. And I'm just, for the sake of it, because it's in Richmond Range South, I'm now going to go Command V. And there's that little polygon. So that's a really handy tip in Google Earth Pro. If you want to move stuff, you can individually select Command C, Command X, Command V, or Alt, whatever it is in Microsoft land. And now I'm going to turn on, because we are lucky in this particular area now, we have our what we call rubber sheeted images. I'll just turn that off again and turn it on. So this is from the historical aerial viewer from New South Wales Spatial Services. It's from 1997. And I have just dropped it in on top of Google Earth and squished and squashed it. Having already ascertained that the plantation was established in 1998, and this is 1997. So this is effectively all the remnant forest that existed in this area just before the plantation was established. But the topography in Richmond Range, it's called a range, so it's pretty up and downy. So a preliminary kind of effort that you will be doing as citizen scientists will start the process of alerting us and ultimately the authorities to the presence of native forest inside these areas, but it is not the end of the journey, because there are inaccuracies of about 15 to 20% when you rubber sheet and squish and squash, because you are effectively putting a flat image on top of an actual undulating landscape. So you need what are called rectified images, which are images that have taken several images, have located specific known geographic locations, and then triangulated the image and effectively created an undulating image that then sits on top. And that's called rectification. So I'm going to turn off that now. And I'm just going to cut to the chase and turn on the Richmond Range South rectified image. So this is an actual image superimposed correctly to within, in fact, it might be worth showing you. So look at the bottom of the plantation here. You can see here how this dam sits exactly within this non-polygon inside the state forest. If I move the cursor here, we're back in plantation subunit object ID 8322, and you can see how our wonderful helper with the Bob Brown Foundation has snapped this to ground completely. I'll just turn on south again and turn this off. So you can see, to the best of my ability, with a bit of squishing and squashing, there is a discrepancy here of about 15 meters, which in the scheme of things, if you're dealing with a polygon of remnant native forest that might be half a hectare or so, is not a tragedy, but it is difficult if it's 0.1 of a hectare. But we have to start somewhere. So I've now gone through the process here and identified what are called rectified polygons. So I did a whole initial set of polygons, identifying what I considered to be the remnant native forest in this area. I told forestry, and now forestry has replied to me, and I acknowledged my communication, and then I said, well, thank you very much. Now you've engaged with me, I'm going to send you the rectified polygons. So I then sent them a further set of more accurate polygons. And here they are. So you can see what I have done. I've basically drawn polygons around everything that remained inside Richmond Range. And this is a really large area for us to be working on. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it's, well, I'll tell you what we can do. We can turn on the IFOA layer, go into here, get info. This particular compartment as a whole is about 102 hectares. The plantation is maybe a little bit under a half of it. So we're probably looking at an area that we're working on of about 200, 250 hectares of plantations. And
Tim, could I just interrupt for a second?
Go for it.
So right up in the northwest corner of that image, right, the polygon that's under, is it called Baines Forest Road?
Mm-hmm.
That looks like a whole block that should be old growth. Because that was, if you go back to the just the image that was just pre the, what was it, 1987, or what year it was, I can't remember. 97 maybe.
Yes, so this is 97. This is what it looks like now. So some of this has been converted. So what I have done with Richmond Range is because it is so large and so extensive, I have just done a preliminary set of polygons, not all of which I have checked because I've never been to Richmond Range. And I would like, hopefully, to get to Richmond Range in the next month or so to do some checking. But yes, you're right, Sue. And then if you look up here, this is particularly interesting. I'm going to make this my whole screen. Can you still see the image? I've just made it a little bit bigger. So if you look at the northeast corner here of the plantation, you can see in this particular polygon, 1-1 of State Forest Plantation polygon, object ID 1189, just how large and extensive this area is. And I will now turn that off. And you can see today that basically that polygon is still the same. And I'm going to take this using the Google Earth Pro function back to 2013, because that has the most or the best visual image of this particular area. I think it's 13. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go, 2011, sorry. So if we go back to 2011 here, so we've now left 97 historical photography and we're in the digital era. You can see the lines of the plantation here. And I'll just zoom in a little bit more. You can see quite clearly what has been planted. But when you go back to that particular polygon here, it hasn't changed at all, apart from the fact that it's grown a bit. So in 2011, that area looked pretty much like it did in 1997. There's possibly been a little bit of thinning. But you can also see in this remnant that I drew a polygon around here in 1997, this is what this looked like. And this is what it looks like, or looked like in 2011. There's been no clearing in this area since then. And by contrast, again, this is to get your eye trained to seeing forest as opposed to plantation. We've got some large canopy trees. We've got a kind of uneven, patchy look here with some slightly open areas, whatever. And when we zoom out, you can see the difference because there's no lines. This wasn't planted. And this is a lovely big old growth tree in here. We've lost some of the polygons to plantation. So probably most of this one, looking at it, has gone. But again, down here in this little corner, that's probably remnant. So really, Richmond Range is a very big project, and it probably requires one or two of you to help me with this. Or more of our recruits as we get them. But the reason why I have brought this up is because just before this session started, I had a communication from forestry. And forestry said to me, "Dear Tim, thank you for your request. This plan is still in preparation. As such, some aspects, including mapping, are incomplete." I'll share this with you. I have attached plantation FMZ5 and resource unit shape files, exact operational area not defined, draft operational map, current plantation authorization map, and shape files. No rectified images have been prepared at this stage.
Tim, does that mean they've changed it and they're saying, well, you're using the wrong files? Is that what they're saying?
No, they're saying we're not as ready as you are, Tim.
Oh.
We don't have any rectified images. That whole process I talked about at the beginning where you make the image snap to ground, They're not there yet, but we were. So I was able to write back and say, dear Elizabeth, thank you very much. Would you like my rectified images? I would be very happy to help. But the reason why I thought this was interesting is they've been kind enough to attach their spatial data. So you see, we're under their skin. We're more than under their skin now. We're almost an epiphyte, or I don't want to say parasite, but we are now directly impacting how forestry relates to stakeholders, and the fact that it is seriously looking at the issues that we have raised. And I particularly want to draw your attention in this email, in this image here. Can you see the pink there?
Oh, sorry.
The area in pink, it says native vegetation that must be retained.
And how does that compare to your polygons?
I don't know yet. Let's
sorry.
see.
I know. Oh, yeah, okay.
No, that's always ask questions. The clever student is the student who asks questions, Jenny, and that is exactly what I want to do now, because I haven't seen it myself yet. Okay. So I'm going to go through a rubber sheeting exercise. Let's go back to Richmond Range. You all know how to do this now. We go add image overlay. Might just make it a little bit smaller. I'll do that again. I'll make sure that I've got my tilt and compass, so it's as straight as I can get it. Add image overlay. Put it in the middle here. I'm pretty certain that I just saved that image to my desktop. Normally I would save it to my Richmond Range folder, but not today, because this happened just before the meeting. So I'll have to muck about and see if I can find it. So just, here we go. Add image overlay. I'm just going to do OK now, because I need to actually turn off the orthorectified image, because it superimposes itself on top of stuff. So here is that image. Oh, and of course I have no idea where I saved it, because I was so busy crapping on. I wonder where I saved it. I probably saved it in the IFOA layer. So I'm going to, what am I going to do? I need to find it now. Anyway, let's not, oh, I know I do need to find it. I wonder where I put it. I bet it ended up in that IFOA layer. Let's have a look. So this is where you have to keep your brain functioning.
If it's just arrived via email, can you just go back to the email and then resave it to the place where you want it, or?
Yes, I can, but I've got this image somewhere now and I can't remember where I put it. So if I was still in Richmond Range, the chances are it's just gone down to the bottom of the folder. Untitled image overlay. Ah, there we go. So I will now do Command C, Command X. And I'll stick it up the top here. Put it back in. Now we do our get info. And I'm going to see how close the aerial photography that I've been sent is to the actual image. So I'm not going to squish and squash it yet. I'm just going to take my cursor to the corner and put my finger as a Mac user on Shift so that it stays as a square. I'm going to make it smaller. Let's see if I can make it any bigger. So Elizabeth's already told me it's not rectified. So now I've got it like that. I'm now going to just take my finger off the shift and I'm going to squish and squash. Let's see how much is saved, remembering that that's pink. So this is a brand new, this is brand new for me too. I don't know how much I've managed to convince them in advance. It's not looking good. I'll just press OK. Have we saved anything yet? Particularly that area I'm concerned about up here. We may have saved a little bit up the top here, but it looks like this is a campaign, folks. So what I also very kindly for forestry did was also provide them areas of their actual plantation subunits that were never plantation. So these areas in cyan in this were never plantation, because I've gone from the historical image right through to the present, and there's been no change. So these areas are still native forest. And these are areas that were also not plantation in 2006, which is the cutoff date under the Australian Forestry Standard, after which areas may not be converted to plantation. If forestry wants to have this as an Australian Forestry Standard certified operation. So now, folks, you can see what is in play, and it is many, many hectares. This is a doozy, this one. This is huge, and this is likely to be a major battleground if I could just get someone from the Northeast interested in helping out. But don't worry, we will do the best we can. So that is the news on that front. And then I'll just give you a little bit, although let's leave it at that. At 6:41, let's leave it at that. So there's our campaign, folks. All right, well, look, Annette, can I dob you in to start straight away, or do we want to have some questions, or can we just see how you went with your homework? How would you, and don't be shy or embarrassed, or be shy and embarrassed and say no.
No, that's fine. So as I said to you, Sue will know we use the Avenza maps out when we're doing our bird survey. So I am a bit familiar with those, which is good. And what I did today was, I'm always good at doing my homework you know, the day that it's due. But
It's the best day.
it's the best day. So I managed to find the same map that you were using, the Get Lost map from Coffs Harbour, and I downloaded that. I also managed to, I put it all on my iPad, which is a bit like yours, you know, nice and big. So I could see it a bit better, but I found I actually had to update the Avenza app because it was quite old. And when I was following your instructions, mine looked very different. And that took me a bit of time to actually find out how to update the different thing, but that was done. So I put the map on. I imported the polygons and the boundaries. I had a bit of an issue with Dropbox, and I don't know why this is happening. Sometimes I'll click on the information that people send me and it will come up saying you do not have permission to view this file. So I don't know what I did to fix that, but eventually I managed to fix that. I kind of feel like the security with everything has just gone a bit over the top, to be honest. I don't know if anybody else is finding that. When I try and get into things, it takes me about 5 minutes to go through these multiple authenticated codes and passwords and SMSs. Anyway, so
all right. So you brought that into Avenza, and you've got the polygons in
yes.
Avenza.
So I've got all the polygons there in Avenza, which is really good. And then I looked at the input. So I have installed that app, and I've now just registered for that. So that's good. And I had a bit of a look at it. But as I said, I didn't have any way of actually putting anything into there at this point in time. So
all right. So just send me your username.
Yeah,
and I'll get you access. So that's the same for everybody. So Input is the app that we use, specifically us, developed for us, with us, by the Bob Brown Foundation, to do this, to walk through time on our devices historically, to see the images and to get into the polygons, to navigate into the polygons.
and it actually does look really useful. When I had another look at it today, I could see why you were so excited by it, because not only do you see the, you know, the topographic markings, etc., but you're actually there with the forest, and you can see that's the big tree that we're looking for. And I thought, can we go in and put little markers on all these trees? They do not chop me down.
Well, we do digital markers,
Exactly.
because we don't touch or do anything like that, because people get cranky and accuse us of stuffing them up and shock horror being eco-terrorists. So we have to avoid that, but we certainly do. Tell me, did you have any joy importing those KMZs into Google Earth Pro as well?
Yes, I did that also. So
very good.
And I managed to also, there was an image there which I imported as well.
Squished and squashed.
Yes, I haven't squished and squashed it enough to make it, you know, useful, but I did put it in there, and I squished and squashed it a bit. But to be honest, once I had done it, I actually found it actually quite easy to do. I could do another one very quickly now that everything's updated and working well. Yeah.
So before we ask you to do a show and tell, I might just ask Sue and I'm having a Jenny. Is this alien speak gobbledygook to you, or are you? Okay, so did you get a chance to watch last week's video?
It's not alien, but I couldn't get a chance to reload everything. Don't forget, I have to reload everything onto my new computer. So it's the long weekend. It's going to be my long catch up. It's not alien speak, but it's alien do.
Okay, so Sue, did you get a chance to look at last week's movie? Well, have a look if you can. So we are now moving away from the lessons that we learned in the previous semester, which we'll shortly get another refresher with Annette. And we're now moving into ground truthing. So this semester is ground truthing. And if you have last week's email, there is a link to the YouTube channel in there.
I'm not sure if I do still have last week's email.
Okay, so I'll just go to YouTube and I'll just get to the Adopt a Plantation training course. So I'll just share screen again. And I will, this is unlisted, so only we get to access this stuff. I'll just put this in the chat. I'll share with everyone. And I'll also share directly to you, Sue Gold, as a direct message in the chat. There is the link. So these are the old semester modules, Sue, from 1 to 6. And semester 2, module 1, which is almost an hour, is an introduction. So it's the whole, what you'll learn in the whole course.
I don't know what I've done. Oh, there you are. You've come back again. Okay, so how can I copy and paste? All right.
So you go into the chat and you just select that.
And it's the semester 2, module 1, is it?
Yeah, but it's the whole, I've sent you the whole list to the training. They're all in there, and Annette and Jenny have it too.
It's actually, I find them really useful because you can stop you. So you've listened to it live, so you've got some idea, but then you can watch the video and stop it at a point and think, okay, so now I need to open that file up, and what does he do next? Okay, so he clicks this little button here, so you click that button there, and it's really easy when you follow that.
Well, that's how I did the wrote up the notes for the training.
Yeah,
I went back and did lots of stopping.
Yeah, lots of stopping. Yeah, so I thought it was very good.
Well, Sue, as I indicated, I now have a small grant from Griffiths. So I think I managed to get about 9,000 out of Griffith. I leveraged another 30,000 on top of that. You are very welcome if you wish to collaborate with me as another Griffith alumna, but it's up to you. No pressure. No, seriously, like, you know, I'm just grateful knowing that all of you are there. I can't tell you how comforting it is and how important it is that even if you think you're not achieving anything or doing anything, let me tell you, you bloody well are. So now is the moment of truth for you, Annette, to show us your Google Earth Pro.
Oh, so now I've got to remember how to do this. So what am I trying to, Aurora.
So bring up Google Earth, bring up your Aurora thing, go into the share. I think I've enabled share.
So where's the share? Sorry, share screen.
Share screen.
Okay.
Then you'll get a whole load of boxes showing different parts of your desktop.
Yeah, it says unknown. Why is that? Wants me to do some system preferences. What?
Oh, you probably have to do your privacy settings and add camera. So go down to settings.
So yeah, I mean, I've actually just kind of completely dropped out for a couple of months. I was feeling really burnt out by everything generally, and I feel very intimidated by the. I lost my nerve when it came to starting to email Forestry Corporation about some of these things, because I just wasn't confident that my information was correct.
Can you see that?
Yes, we can. So we're having a side conversation here with Sue.
Okay.
Yeah,
and Sue, that is, you have to be exactly who you are and feel exactly how you feel, and that was exactly the right thing for you to do. So you know, do not worry about that. Like, I look like some kind of superstar. I click this, I click that, doody da da dee da, but I'm still just a normal person like we all are. And I'm ahead of you because, of course, I'm the teacher. So I'm always one step ahead. But that doesn't mean that I'm trying to force anybody to do stuff that they're not comfortable with. So what you did or did not do was perfect. It was exactly the right response. So don't worry, you know, like, again, I really want to emphasize everybody looking at you directly. There's really no pressure in this. Like, the planet's in trouble, the forests are going, but for goodness sake, you know, we're not Christian martyrs of the 3rd century. We're not here to suffer. We're here to have fun. So you know, let's not get too stressed out about it.
Okay.
And then we rejoice when we see that Sister Annette
is that right? I managed to do something.
Has taken the KMZ file from the Dropbox link that I sent after last week's meeting, and she just simply actually clicked it and activated it, and it got immediately sucked into Google Earth Pro.
Yeah, it's amazing if you ask me. I find it amazing, but it was quite easy and it worked, so that's good. And this is I did overlay this, but I haven't done too much with it yet to get it to fit properly. But that's the 1979 close-up.
Yeah, so not bad, mate.
Yeah, not bad. Actually, it lined up. I managed to get it to line up when it downloaded. So I must have had the sizes about right.
So a lot of the time, because of the amazing nature of this technology, even though remember that Google Earth Pro stole it from 2 amazing Germans. If you've ever seen the series $1 Billion Code, which is on SCS, SBS and free, it's called $1 Billion Code. It's the history of what we're using right now. It's really awesome show.
I'm going to watch that. Yeah.
But because of the intelligence of these algorithms, if it can, it will try and make it as close as it can. So you saw how it nearly did it with Richmond Range. So why don't you do view, tilt and compass for us, Annette, and make it a straight image under reset.
Now nothing changed on it.
Okay, that's pretty good then. So now click on Aurora and go get info.
Yes.
Good.
And
then I might want zoom in a bit more.
I've got this terrible mouse. I'm going to get rid of it because it zooms when I don't want it to zoom.
Good. So now just if you move the dialog box just a little bit so it's a bit more out of the way, which you can. Yeah. And now let's engage in squish and squash.
Sorry.
So a good place to start probably is down at the bottom on the south eastern corner. No, go to the southeastern corner.
This one?
Yep. And now, can you see how there's that kind of long, thin red strip down at the bottom there?
Here, this one?
Yes. So try and make the bit of native forest that's there fit into it.
Like this?
That's it. That's not bad. So you've kind of got that bottom corner sorted now. Now go to the top and the middle.
Sorry, I've got this terrible mouse, Tim, which I need to get rid of. Keeps on moving things for me.
And then you kind of like maybe move that up a little bit, pull it up a little bit.
That much?
Yeah, and basically keep fiddling around to the right and the left, the up and the down, until all those bits of native forest fit in the polygon, and then essentially you've got about the best that you can.
Yeah.
And the next step for me, if I can, is to get an orthographic image of this produced. This is for the poor folks of Karangi who are about to lose much more than just these plantation areas. And at this stage, I'll ask you to stop sharing. You might want to press OK to save.
Done.
To save your squishing and squashing. And to thank you all very much for coming. Anita, thanks for rejoining us at the end. I'll save.
My electricity has gone, so that's sorry.
No worries. We will share a link to the YouTube episode so you can all catch up. And I'm off now to have my dinner. And I wish you all good night, good evening, Subharadri.
Namaste.
And see you later.
See you next week.
And well done, Annette.
Yay, step one. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.